Hello everybody, welcome to Melissa's Musing today on this fabulous Friday, and it is the featured friend Friday of the week, which is super awesome. We're waiting for Jenna Klepper to come on in, and she is, hold up, adding.
Hey!
There she is. Hey Jenna, how's it going?
Good. I had my phone turned horizontally first, and then I was like, oh no, wait, I have to go vertical.
I know, I need to learn how people are going horizontal right now with it.
So basically all you have to do is if you take your phone and you turn your phone horizontally, then what happens is we end up side by side versus me and then you and the.
Well, maybe we'll switch that next time. I don't know. All of mine are vertical, but maybe I need to experiment with the horizontal. We'll have to try that out next time. But yeah, so Jenna, I'm so excited to have you on the show. So a little bit of background about us and our relationship. Jenna actually hired John and I to sell her house this past June. And in doing so, we became great friends because we realized that we have tons of similar mindset tricks. And I just love following her journey because she's always doing amazing things. And yeah, we just connected and now we keep in touch and it's amazing.
I know. I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, when I met you and John, I was like, you guys are the real estate version of me. This is perfect.
Totally.
We're leaving because we could have been such, good friends, hang out all the time in San Diego. Now we just have to be far away friends.
Yeah.
It's
awesome. I was I was a little bit bummed that I met you on your tail end of the San Diego journey, but now we get to be long distance buds. Exactly. And thankfully with technology, I mean, look at this. This is amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
So today we're talking about limiting beliefs, and it's something that all of us deal with. I mean, I've come into contact just this week with a few different people where I've gotten the opportunity to call them out on their limiting beliefs. And Jenna, we've connected about some of the ones that you've had. I love the one story that you shared with me, and I would love for you to enlighten everybody else on a really amazing example of a limiting belief.
Yeah. So, throughout life, I think we have a lot of limiting beliefs and we don't even know that we're aware of them. I know that throughout my entire journey, so to speak, more and more come up and I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that was, happening until I pushed past it. The best example I can give where I became really aware of the limiting beliefs I had was I was chosen to be a part of a test group for a new workout program. And before I went in, my family was like, oh, are you trying to lose weight? I thought you were already at your goal weight. And I was like, oh, I am. My body is where it wants to be. I'm not going to lose any more weight. And then people would be like, okay, well, what about modifying? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm still going to modify. I have bad knees, bad back, whatever. And the very first day that trainer came out into the workout program, and he came on, my screen and he was like, there's shop rules every single day. And the first shop rule is try before you modify. And I was like, well, shit, sorry for the language, but
you don't need to apologize in Melissa's Musing.
I'm 100% modifier. I don't jump. What is this? But I just remember that day I was like, okay, well, if he says, try before you modify, then I'm going to do it. And I didn't modify the entire program. There wasn't one move that I modified. And then throughout that whole program, I realized all these limiting beliefs I had, I lost more weight, I was more toned, I got more fit. And all of a sudden, these other areas of my life where I was like, oh my gosh, I've been holding myself back on this and I've been holding myself back on that. And it kind of just all came to light because of that one phrase that he said, try before you modify, and me going, well, okay, you're the boss, I'll do what you say.
Yeah.
So that's kind of all there.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I think that really is telling too, because a lot of times we don't realize that we're stuck in our limiting belief until somebody outside of our realm is like, hey, listen, why are you doing it this way? Or are you sure that's actually, what you want to be doing? Because often, and I think that's one thing that we've both done a really good job of, surrounding ourselves with a really great support group that will kind of call us out on that shit, right? It's when they see us operating from that space, for so long you were modifying without even really trying to do it in a different way. And then when you tried it and you realized that you didn't even need that modification, you were like, well, damn, look at this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's so easy to get into our own heads and think that we can't do something. So I was even, you know, journaling this morning and doing like a judgment detox type thing. And it was like, okay, what's your judgment and where did this stem from? And, you know, you sit there and you think about like, why am I judging this person? And you're like, oh, well, that's because I've never been the top of anything, you know, like here I am judging people on the top. And I'm like, well, why am I doing that? Because I've never been on the top, and I stop myself because I don't feel like I can get there.
Oh, I love
So it's just been like really eye-opening, not just, you know, in workouts and in that aspect, but just in life, like all these things that we do that hold ourselves back when
Absolutely.
we have like a vision and we can do it, you know?
100%. And that awareness is key, I think, in shifting out of the limiting belief, because everybody has limiting beliefs. I think that's, you know, the part that we can't get hard on ourselves with, like, oh, well, had I been doing this the last 6 months, you know what I mean? No, like really, when you become aware of that limiting belief, that's a huge opportunity. That's a huge shift. Like just this week, John and I were in a mastermind, and one of the girls was presenting and she was giving so much awesome information. And I was like, this is fascinating. I was like, do you provide this content to other agents? And like, I was like, you should produce videos. And she was like, nobody wants to listen. And I like straight up, I was like, dude, that's such a total limiting belief. Like, I wish I knew more about what you did. Like, I would watch it.
Yeah. It's so funny, the things that we say to ourselves, and not lies, but they are, you know, lies that we tell ourselves, like, I can't do this or I can't do that. For me, it's been, like you said, about surrounding myself with those like-minded people that are going to call me out and be like, no, you can do this, but also having like a vision to work towards. So, you know, we met because I had this vision that I was going to sell my house in San Diego, move across the country, leave teaching, and move to coaching full time. And I was going to live in this house in Florida and not have a mortgage. And rather than limiting myself and being like, okay, what all can go wrong? I just said, okay, these are the steps that I need to make it go right. And every single day I would wake up and be like, I'm going to sell this house. It's going to be a matter of days. I'm going to have multiple offers. I'm going to drive across the country. God help me, because I'm driving with 3 animals.
I know, you are such a champ. The day Jenna drove off with those 3 pets in the car, I was like holding down the fort at the house. I was like, bye, like more power to you. It's amazing and such an undertaking.
Oh God, I don't know what was more stressful, dealing with like the end stuff of the house or trying to drive with 3 animals.
Definitely drive with 3 animals, I feel like. As she drove away, it was like all the cats were meowing, like the 2 cats were meowing, the dog was barking. I was like, bye.
Hey, have fun. Yeah, because like the one cat let herself out as I'm like going through the, you know, mountains of Arizona. I'm like, oh God, help me. She's like walking across the dashboard. There's nowhere to pull over. I'm like, get back in your case. Like, just get in the back car of this car, do something.
But like that is such a prime example of how easy it would have been to allow limiting beliefs to be like, I can't do this, or I can't get there, or even like, you know, my house isn't going to sell. Like the fact that we were so aligned and truly like manifesting the success of that sale on so many different fronts, like we were on the same page the entire time. So really, like, your vision down to the day that you wanted to move, we were able to achieve that because you were so crystal clear on what you needed and what you wanted from the experience. And like, you were not, like, limiting beliefs were not an option because you needed to get to Florida. It was with the 3 pets, like the house had to sell. And really, when we give ourselves no other option but to succeed, and, you know, when we silence those voices in our head, because the message that I always tell you guys is that those voices are never going to go away. We're human beings. We are programmed to be comfortable, secure, and safe. So when we do something super awesome, but also very difficult, like packing up, you know, selling your house in San Diego, packing up the car, moving with the 3 pets to the dream life that you're waiting for, like, of course, there are going to be thousands of voices in your head being like, that's not going to work. The cats are going to freak out, like, blah, 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 blah. And you have to just, like, almost like blindlessly continue to move forward. And as long as you have that awareness that those are the voices in your head and the limiting beliefs, you will succeed on the pathway.
Yeah, and it's not even just the voices that are in your head, because, you know, friends and family, you know, have those same like doubts. So it's like those things that are popping up in my head. And to have to be strong enough to be like, no, this is the vision, this is how it's going to happen. It takes a lot, you know. It was more than just like a physical shift for me. It was an emotional one too, because there's so many variabilities and you can try to analyze every which way it's going to go. But the only thing you can do is say, okay, this is how it's going to happen, and I'm going to make sure it happens this way.
Yeah, and you will experience roadblocks. Like, for those of you watching, it will not be easy. There will be failures, roadblocks, breakdowns. Like, there will be the shit that you have to deal with. But I think the powerful part about leaving the limiting beliefs behind is navigating through all of the shit to really achieve the end goal and what you want, and surrounding yourself with the people who will support you in those decisions. And so I know that some of the tools that I use are journaling, and I do a lot of meditation, and of course, you know, like networking with people who will call me out on my bullshit. What are do you use some of those same tools and tricks to kind of bust out of your limiting beliefs? How do you find that you are able to leave those behind you?
So I've recently started journaling, like recently being like today.
Woo! Awesome.
But I read a lot of books. I just finished The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F.
Oh, yeah, that one's on my list.
That one's a really good one. The Universe Has Your Back is another favorite one of mine. That's a really good one. Daring Greatly, I finished really recently. I wish I had read it sooner. So I read a lot of books like that. And like, for example, I just finished The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. And I have all these books on my shelf that are like ready for me to read. And I have some Audible books that are like ready for me to listen. And I just sat there, and I remember I texted my friend one day, and I'm like, none of these books are what I feel like I need right now. And so I went online, and for whatever reason, The Judgment Detox just came up in my Amazon thing when I was searching for something else. I don't even remember what I was searching for, but I was like, maybe I just need to read The Universe Has Your Back again. And like The Judgment Detox came up, and I was like, no, this is what I need. So I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of reflection. I do a lot of envisioning where I want to go, and not just like where I want to go, but when I want to get there. So I give myself that timeline, because then nothing else is negotiable. If I'm like, I'm going to be doing this on this day, and I have that really clear vision, it's a lot easier for me to work towards it versus, you know, being like, oh, well, maybe one day I'll be in Florida and one day I'll have this. No, I'm going to have this in September. This is when it's happening.
Yeah, amazing. Because then one day you find out you're like 40 and you're like, well, shit, I really wanted to do this one day. And yeah, so that's super powerful. I love that. I'm going to have to, actually, if you could link some of those books in the comments, that would be amazing, because those are some of the ones that I actually want to read that are on my list. I just recently read You Are a Badass. That was a super awesome one too. Have you read that one?
I do. I like that one too. I listened to the audiobook, and listening to her speak is pretty cool too.
Oh, that's cool. Maybe I'll have to re-listen to it, because that was such an amazing book. Like, I would totally re-listen to that one. But I love some of those tips and tricks. I hope that, you know, if any of you guys are out there struggling with limiting beliefs, definitely reach out to Jenna and I. We bust through ours all the time, probably several times a day. And also, you know, we want to support you in whatever it is that you want to accomplish. Like, Jenna has done amazing things. She sets really amazing, stretchy goals and then achieves them, like John and I do. And, you know, the lifestyle that we live is really, truly to be an inspiration to you guys. And that's the reason why we are all over social media and project ourselves out here, is to be the example that truly anything is possible for you guys. And you can absolutely bust through any limiting beliefs that you have. You can get past anything holding you back. It just takes surrounding yourself with the right people, you know, putting yourself in the right position with whatever resonates with you. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's visualization, maybe it's journaling or reading. But there are so many tools out there that will truly be the keys to your success. And we encourage you guys to like reach out and use us as a support. I know Jenna, like I've reached out to Jenna for support, and vice versa. Like, especially when we were in the process of selling her house and she was going through all that stuff, like, the therapy for both of us, like we had to, we were on track. We had to be in communication and like holding each other accountable for what, you know, what we were committed to.
Yeah. And just on that note too, you know, obviously we put ourselves out there every day on social media, like you said, to help inspire and empower other people to do these like really wonderful things, because you and I both have that same belief that like we're holding ourselves back, but we can, you know, help other people achieve that. But be careful not to compare yourself to Melissa or me, because we're at a different point. So you can look at the top of the mountain and get overwhelmed really, really easily, when really all you need to do is look at that first step. And that first step is just reaching out and saying, hey, this is where I want to go. How do I get there?
Absolutely.
So just be careful, because that comparison game is
I call that comparatitis.
Yes, it's pretty
toxic. Yeah. And I sometimes find myself doing that. We could do a whole nother video on comparatitis. But ultimately, like, yes, absolutely. Because Jen and I, we did not start out this way. And it takes little itty bitty baby steps each time. And then each step gets bigger. And then it turns into leaps and bounds and like marathon type footsteps. But really, it starts very small. Like when John and I first initially started our goal setting, like the goals were measly. It was like have a date night once a month, because we realized like we weren't spending enough time with each other. So little steps always compound. Paul, what did, let me just see. Unfortunately, some beliefs aren't limiting, but just an accurate and pragmatic observation of your world. But how you react to the circumstances defines your character. I really like that feedback. I think that's valuable. You know, but I do think you always want to, you know, not hold yourself back. I think there is something to be said about being realistic. And yeah, failure is always an option, but it's not always bad. Failure, in my opinion, is like amazing. Failure can absolutely be the best teacher.
Actually, the book that I was reading was talking about it's better to fail, because that's how you learn and that's how you can move forward. So it's actually in your best interest to fail, because that's when you really grow as a person and you can grow and move forward in your life. So I'm a firm believer, like, fail forward and fail often.
Yeah, me too. Like when I have a failure day and like 5 things go wrong, like, of course I'm feeling dejected and I'm like, oh, that was a rough day. But at the same time, I'm like, wow, I really learned a lot of lessons today. What great opportunities. There is always a silver lining, my friends. Well, thank you so much, Jenna, for being a part of Melissa's Musing, the Featured Friend Friday. It was fabulous to have you. Me. Yeah, and it was great to just see your face. I miss you.
I know, right?
All right, you guys. Well, definitely hit us up. Jenna is such an awesome resource. She is, now you're full-time in coaching, right?
Full-time coaching, yep.
So this lady is here to help you. She is available to you. And of course, I'm always a support as well. We love you guys. And I hope you have a fantastic and fabulous Friday. Talk to you soon.